Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. I am Ryan Linkler, and I'm back with my co-host Brady Penn. We are the hosts of the Blitz Angle, and we are breaking down Chiefs versus Bills, the most viewed game, regular season, postseason so far, outside of the Super Bowl we have had in NFL history. 51 million viewers. We had a great game. It lived up to the hype. Brady, what are you expecting to see on this tape, and what are some of the things that we should be looking forward to watching here?
I'm just looking to see Andy Reid. I mean, Andy Reid called a perfect game, I felt like, against the Buffalo Bills. Really, the only two times that the Chiefs truly got stopped, I think three times, were a drop on a back shoulder ball, a fumble on an exchange between Pacheco and Mahomes, and then a sack where Matt Milano just barely clipped Mahomes' legs as he was about to take off for a first down. So, I mean, I think Mahomes, I saw, had the highest success rate of his entire career on Sunday. Everything was there available to him. Guys were getting open. Even though the run game did struggle in the passing game, they pretty much got everything they wanted. And then on the defensive side, there were some struggles, but in pretty much every big moment, except for one or two, the Chiefs defense and Spags came through with the right call. So I expect to see really just the Bills getting out coached here.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the tell of the tale. The Bills defense really struggled in this one. I think we're going to see just kind of how the Chiefs attacked it. It was a lot of basically what it looked like to me when going through some of these plays. Like it was a self scout of the Chiefs. What did we do well against Buffalo in the first game? What is Buffalo going to expect us to do in the second game? All right, we're going to do the complete opposite. What have we done in the past? We're going to do a little bit opposite. They kind of mixed up their schemes and tendencies, and that's why the Chiefs are so good. Is they have a great quarterback, they have great talent on both sides of the ball, and they're very well coached, making it very hard to beat them. And then if one call goes the wrong way, that everybody's going to attribute it to the refs. Not that the Chiefs just have a good team, and one little mistake feels like it could change the outcourse of the game. So let's get into the first play here, Brady. What do we got?
All right, so we are going to have a play that we saw in Week 11 against the Buffalo Bills, except it's going to be the other side. In Week 11, we saw Xavier Worthy, who was down here on the bottom of the screen, run a hitch to exploit the hole in the zone. Here, you're going to see pretty much the exact same concept to the other side. I remember Justin Watson widened out outside of Worthy to get the corner, Rasul Douglas, who ironically enough is the same corner here, to widen out and allow space for Worthy, who is at the number 2. Here, we see Worthy do the exact same thing. You're going to see him widen out Rasul Douglas. Hollywood Brown is the number 2. He is just going to sit it down, find space, make a catch, and get yards after the catch here. And the Chiefs, I mean, the opening drive was just RPOs, quick passes, and yards after the catch. I mean, it was a well-oiled machine. It was a great attack, and it was, I mean, the Chiefs really set the tone offensively on that opening drive to me. We've got a little bit more of this opening drive here. We are going to have Mahomes knowing exactly what he wants the entire play here. It's going to be cover 2 look here from the Bills. Mahomes is going to roll out left. Worthy already is going to out leverage Benford down here. Obviously, we know the speed that Worthy has. He gets outside of the cover 2 corner, who already has to get depth with Hollywood Brown running this deep corner route. Mahomes, we've seen it so many times, him escaping pressure, him making plays with pressure in his face. Look how completely unfazed he is by 94. It's like he doesn't even see him there. He gets Xavier Worthy to just drift up the field. Benford has to continue to respect Hollywood Brown, so he can't really jump on this throw to Worthy. And the second that Pat sees Worthy open, he hits him right there. They get 9 or 10 yards for another first down on this opening drive. Now,
Yeah, and I think one of the things when you go back and look at these plays right here, right? The Chiefs have gone back to heavy RPOs in this offense, and that is honestly what we haven't really seen that much in this offense since 2022. They struggled last year with the receivers they had excelling at these concepts, right? And here we are. It just is super easy at this point, right? If it's man coverage, you probably get a first handoff if this thing would load. But you probably get that handoff to Kareem Hunt up the middle there, right? Instead, you got Worthy who's holding the corner in that soft spot of the zone. Marquise Brown fits right behind it. The middle of the field was wide open. And it's always like you talk about it a lot too. It's defend the short out routes that the Chiefs like to run a lot. The Chiefs kind of self-scouted. We're like, hey, we have a lot of teams potentially going to cheat outside. We could slide in a guy over the middle in these RPO plays where Mahomes just has to read the defense, which he's pretty good at, and then go from there. And it worked out very well in the first drive. They were able to get Marquise Brown involved early. And then you mentioned this play when he's able to break contain right here. I mean, he has 3 options on this play. right here at this point. He could try to fit this ball, be elite, find a way to make Marquise Brown get there. I think he makes that throw. Another thing, you look at the middle of the field, all the pursuit is towards Mahomes on the sideline. He has DeAndre Hopkins here for a 12-plus yard gain, and maybe in the regular season he turns his hips and makes that throw. But you know what he does, Brady? He settles for an 8-yard gain and says, I'm going to live to see another down. That's a positive gain. He rolls for a first down there. And I mean, that's the thing. Mahomes is not going to make mistakes in the postseason. He can make these flashy plays. He can go show off his arm on the run. He's just not going to do it. He's going to make the right play, and he's going to live to see another down in the postseason.
Yep, 100%. So this is one thing that I actually have an area of concern for the Chiefs moving forward. We all know that Joe Thuney has bumped out to left tackle and has actually done a really good job. And it just speaks to Joe Thuney and his skill set. He's a future Hall of Famer. Dude's in like his 6th Super Bowl, went to 3 with the Pats. I think this is his 3rd with the Chiefs. And he's been instrumental on this offensive line on the interior. A couple weeks ago, he moves out to the outside with the left tackle problems that the Chiefs have had, and they plugged Frank Caliendo.
Huh? No, Mike.
Frank Caliendo's the comedian. I'm tripping. But Mike Caliendo at left guard. This is where, again, like the other night, I'll mention a couple things here. I'm not going to talk too in depth about the matchup. This is where I think that the Chiefs are going to have to bear down and scout and figure out ways to stop the Eagles' interior D-line, because when you watch this rep right here of Ed Oliver, who I know got a little bit of an early jump that I don't think got called here, he gets there to Mahomes after hitting Caliendo, getting right by him. And, I mean, this is Ed Oliver, who's considered kind of an undersized D-tackle. What happens when this is against Jalen Carter? I think that's one thing the Chiefs are going to really key in on. This is one of their only weaknesses they showed in this game was their guard play, mainly by Caliendo.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, with Oliver being offsides, it definitely didn't help on this play. But later in the film, you'll see him kind of getting blown off the line. And against Jalen Carter, that's not going to be able to, make things easy on this Chief offense. Like, it was the tackles that made it hard for Mahomes to make plays earlier on in the season and the Chiefs offense to function. If pressure is coming from the middle and the outside guys play contained for the Eagles, that could be a good strategy. It really could work if they really push Caliendo. Maybe they get more blitzes that way. It'll be interesting to see how the Chiefs try to cover it up. I think covering up a bad guard spot is a little easier than covering up a weak tackle spot in the NFL. So we'll see what happens come Super Bowl Sunday.
I definitely agree with that. So next up, we have more RPO from Mahomes. And just this is where Mahomes is really good to me, using his eyes. All great quarterbacks are good at using their eyes to move defenders. And he is going to move Milano just enough here. He's going to be looking for Juju, who's the number 2 up here, up top to the field. You're going to see him take his drop. He's looking out here to the left. Milano is just ever so slightly going to key to the left a little bit. Mahomes has already let go of this football. He's dumping it over Milano's head, finds Juju, makes a man miss. Hamlin, we talked about the game he had and the poor performance, and Juju just gets big-time yardage here on that RPO. Let's get it back just a little bit more here. Yeah, I mean, he's got him turned to the outside. He's thinking that it's either going to be Worthy out here in the flat or even a run play, and instead it's Juju Smith-Schuster. That's one thing I love about Andy Reid. This isn't an offense that's got to force it to one guy. This is an offense that can hit you 1 through 7 in the receiver room. We've seen Justin Watson. We saw him make a big catch in this one. We've seen bits and pieces of Juju, obviously Worthy, Hopkins, Brown, Kelsey. Like, everybody can hurt you. Everybody can get their number called, and that's part of what makes this Chiefs team so hard to defend, even harder than the days where it was 87 and Tyreek Hill just wreaking havoc on other defenses.
Interesting take right there. I don't know if I could say that, but I think this play is a great design from what the self-scout of the Chiefs was last game. Xavier Worthy here is lined up right next to the right tackle, and a few times against the Bills, Worthy would go right here, drop out to the flat. I think he had 2 to 3 catches on that play alone, right? So we talk about Milano over here reading and seeing, oh, I got Kelsey working out. They're trying to clear him out to work to the flat to Xavier Worthy. So you could understand with Milano watching tape and saying, okay, this is the concept they're going to run with the Worthy going across the field. Juju is just going to slide right in behind him and be able to make a play. And Juju, I mean, this is one of the best plays Juju has had all season long, working there, and probably had his best game there. No, I'm not going to say best game. He had a crazy game against the Bucs, but
It was the Saints.
Second best game. Second best game. And I mean, that's just scheme right there. That's just them scheming up some fire concepts to kind of go against their self-scout. What do you got here?
100%. So I really liked, I saw a video from Theo Ash about this as well that got me to look into it. I really liked Mahomes' mechanics, his fluidity, and his timing here. So what you're going to get is a whip route here with Xavier Worthy isolated. He's obviously in condensed at inside of the numbers. And what's going to happen here on this whip route is just Mahomes is going to time up his mechanics and his throw perfectly. You get the motion across. You know it's man-to-man, obviously, with the one high safety. And I don't know why Mahomes took forever to snap this ball. But you're going to see Worthy go inside. You're going to see Mahomes looking inside. The second that Xavier Worthy breaks right here, Mahomes is turned and throwing this ball. Like, this is fluid. This is not something that, you know, some of these guys on Twitter or that make other film content like we're making are going to say is impressive. They're not going to say, oh, that's not a 20-yard throw down the field into a tight window with two guys. And I've been guilty of that myself before, thinking that the mundane or what seems mundane isn't impressive. But something like this to me is impressive. Just the timing, the same page that Mahomes and Worthy are on. And this is something that they've worked at throughout the season. Remember, Xavier Worthy, like at certain points in time, him and Mahomes just could not get it down pat. And it seems like they've started to figure it out at the right time. Let it run here, gets him there, makes Douglas miss, gets the first down, and it's just a great play to me.
Yeah, and I mean that you talked about it there at the end there. I don't even have to rewind this thing, but Xavier Worthy has come so far in his development. He is a solid route runner at worst at this point in his career. He has developed as a player, and that just makes him overall a better threat for this Chiefs offense. We haven't even seen him used as a deep threat here in weeks. Who knows? Maybe Andy Reid has something up his sleeve to fake an out route and hit him over the top on a nice wheel route coming in the Super Bowl, which I could 100% see with how Xavier Worthy has been running routes towards the sideline as of late.
Yeah, definitely. So talking about the Chiefs defense, we know they're great. We know Spags is great, but they did have their struggles in this one against a really good offense, albeit the main thing was the middle of the field. The Chiefs were running a lot of cover two in this game, and the Bills and Josh Allen were taking advantage here. I know it's a little cut off from the snap of the ball, but you got Khalil Shakir, who's in the two. He down here in the field. He's going to come across the middle on a deep end cut, and the Chiefs just are not going to have anybody there to defend it. Allen's going to make a good throw. You got Chamari Connor, I believe that is right here, who's about to break on Amari Cooper's route. Allen gets him to come downhill. Nick Bolton is going to be late, and then the safety up top here, I think that might be Hicks, is late in rotation as well. Allen honestly throws this ball a little bit late, but he was so open, and they found the hole in this zone that it really didn't matter, especially with Bolton not being the best coverage guy. And I think this is another area where the Chiefs are going to try and buckle down heading into their final game is the middle of the field. That's where they've gotten beat, I feel like, against the Texans and the Bills in both of their playoff games so far.
So looking back at this play, I think one of the things that you need to look at here, look at the sticks, guys. It is third, and I want to say 13, 14 on this play. Chamari Connor is jumping a short in route 2 yards. So this would probably be 3rd and 8. He is jumping that route instead of sitting back on a deeper route that he feels and knows that is coming behind him, but he trusts his guy to be behind there. I mean, that's just bad football. You got to understand where you are on the field. You have to understand the down and distance. And I mean, the slot cornerback position, I think, is the biggest problem in Kansas City on the defensive side of the ball. This whole year, you mentioned it, over the middle of the field, 3rd and long. Why do teams keep getting these conversions against the Chiefs and it doesn't look pretty, even though the defense has looked pretty good on paper this season? It is because of that slot cornerback position. And I mean, Nazeeth Johnson was outside at times this year, but over the middle has been a consistent problem at tight ends this year, right? It is because of these reasons. They do not understand where they are at the field. They struggle in coverage. And I think that's one of the biggest things the Chiefs will try to address this offseason is finding somebody to break that trend.
100%.
All right, I'm heading to the next player right now for you.
All right. So this is going to be Xavier Worthy once again. This is the Chiefs realizing they've got man coverage, which we are finding out Xavier Worthy, even if he isn't the most polished vertical, expanded route treat guy, against man coverage, you've got at least 4 or 5 routes that you can go to with him that I feel like you're going to win. Here's one where they had the formation, I think, kind of in condensed I can't remember if I have the beginning of this play or if it's just from the after the snap. Yeah, you got these two guys right here. It's Juju and Worthy behind him. So Juju is going to get taken here by the nickel. Juju's going to clear him out, which leaves Damar Hamlin 6 yards off and already out leveraged just by alignment against Xavier Worthy. We obviously know who wins that speed matchup. And Juju's going to create a natural pick as well, to where Hamlin has to go over the top here. Or actually, he ends up going underneath, but at this point, it's too late. Look, he's walled off. Worthy is almost to the numbers, and this is just basic physics. This is basic math. Xavier Worthy is going to win this race to the end zone, at least to the 1 yard line. That's exactly what he does. Hamlin doesn't even get a hand on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great strategy having Damar Hamlin man up Xavier Worthy in the red zone. It's not ideal by any means. And like I said, Worthy's out routes have been elite as of late, and I think it'll be a big factor against the Eagles.
Yep. So Trent McDuffie is who I want to talk about here for a second. Trent McDuffie, to me, top 3 cornerback in the NFL, has made a seamless transition from slot corner primarily to being an outside guy truly on an island for a lot of these games and being their number one shutdown guy in coverage. I think he's been phenomenal. And this is one example of that here on this play. This is 4 minutes left in the half. I think this is a third down. The Chiefs ended up scoring after this stop. You're going to see him matched up on Keon Coleman, and we'll talk about this a little bit more throughout. McDuffie, he likes the faster guys. He likes covering speed guys. His technique is really good, but when he has a size disadvantage, sometimes it doesn't go quite as well as it does against the speedsters. Here's an example of it working well. This is against Keon Coleman, the former basketball player, obviously a big body guy who they drafted to be a 50-50 jump ball guy. And this isn't necessarily a crazy play on the ball or anything like that, but I just want everyone to watch Trent McDuffie's coverage technique here. I mean, his perfect man technique, perfect feet, eyes are on the hips the entire time. Just check it out. He tries to hit him with a stutter and go. McDuffie stays on top, has his arm walling off the hip of Coleman to where he can't get by, doesn't hold, doesn't grab, turns around to find the football, nowhere near Coleman. And I mean, that's a phenomenal coverage wrap to me from 22.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about McDuffie, you're going to see in the next play, like he allows plays at times, but a lot of the time, man, it's sticky coverage. He makes it tough on receivers. It's never an easy win against Trent McDuffie, and I think that's what makes him so versatile. And it's not even about, like, his run defense. I think he's one of the best run defenders at the corner position in the NFL. He's always able to stop screens. He's a great tackler. Like, this guy can do everything. He might be a little undersized, and that might be his biggest flaw, but he always has tight coverage.
Not to mention, I can't remember a time where Spags drew up a blitz for him where he didn't get home. Like, this guy is just a smart football player. He's a technician. And, we saw the first few years of the Mahomes era where the defense, especially the secondary, was kind of weak. I mean, you had Xavier Ward, you had the Honey Badger there for a couple of years, but this coverage unit has come really far, in my opinion, from the beginning of the Mahomes era in Kansas City. And ever since 2022, number 22 is a big reason why. I mean, this guy literally has never lost a playoff game. What is he, 9-0 now in the postseason in his career?
Yep,
and obviously,
draft classes, Sky Moore, undefeated.
Karlaftis, Najee Johnson, all these guys, like, literally have never known a playoff loss. But here's what we're talking about with McDuffie against these bigger body guys. You're going to see him manned up, actually in the slot this time against Mac Hollins. He's in phase. He's right there. Hollins just gets a little bit on top. McDuffie tries to recover. And again, that size disadvantage comes in. Hollins, with the longer arms, is able to just reach up and take that one out of the sky away from McDuffie. And I mean, this isn't, like you said, this is sticky coverage. He's there. He doesn't really locate the football until the last second. Gets over the hand. It's a touchdown.
I mean, this is the matchup they wanted too. Like, the Chiefs would live with this result 100 times out of 100 times because they have their guy in one-on-one coverage, and this is what they try to get defensively. They would rather have this than get beat over the middle, I think, every single time on third down. They're like, I think when this play happened, they're probably like, well, they just beat us on that play, and they weren't super worried about it.
100%. Now, another thing that could be an area of concern that I know really has not been up to par since about midseason is the Chiefs' run defense. I mean, they started off this year elite in the run game. I felt like I remember there was a game against the Raiders. I want to say it was like week 7, week 8 against the Raiders where they held these dudes to like 20-something attempts for 30-something yards. And Chris Jones, Drew Tranquil, all these guys were playing really, really well. And they have not played great as a run unit lately. I mean, Joe Mixon had a pretty solid game against them in the divisional. James Cook was absolutely gashing them. And here's an example of what the Eagles might try and attack with right here. You're going to have James Cook get the football after Mac Hollins motions to the outside. And what they're going to do, it's just the very quickest double with Chris Jones. It isn't even really a double. Chris Jones is the key when you want to run the ball against the Chiefs. You want to account for Chris Jones. You want to, a lot of time, run away from him. But here they run to his side because they know they're going to have numbers. You've got the guard, just give a quick little extra assist to his man, or I believe the center assisting his guard, and then he climbs to the second level, gets to Nick Bolton. You've got 51. 51 is Dana, correct?
Yep.
You got Dana walled off. And then at that point, you got Dawson Knox on a corner here on the outside. This is what the Eagles should aim to do. Plug the middle as hard as you can on the offensive line. Force the Chiefs DBs to tackle Saquon Barkley. Force the Chiefs DBs to make plays in the run game. Force the corners to come up, and play Saquon, because at that point, that not only opens up the run game for you if you can make the DBs wary and trying to make plays and be the ones to make the tackles, it also opens up the pass game if they're playing up, expecting Barkley to get 30 carries. But you see Cook here, get to the outside. It's a one-on-one with who else? Your boy, Nazeed Johnson, and Cook just puts him in the ground. Gets by him. Brian Cook getting blocked by Mac Hollins, and it's a big-time run for the Bills. We saw James Cook, like I said, get a lot of really good reps in this game where the Chiefs were not tackling well. They were not playing well in space against James Cook, and I think that that's another area of concern that they're going to need to patch up before they play in New Orleans on February 9th.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why this Chiefs run defense has struggled as of late, I think there's been an emphasis more on getting back to being a better pass defense. They really struggled towards the end of that season in that pass defense, right? And I think that was obviously partly due to injuries to Jalen Watson, not having the cornerbacks and the personnel to be able to be successful. And, I think they took a little bit off of the run defense. I understand the concerns of the Chiefs run defense, but they've been really good in the postseason over the course of the last 5-6 years when it matters against the run game. So the concerns are on tape, are on the outsides. They need the personnel in there to be successful. And the personnel is not Chamari Connor on the outside. It's Drew Tranquil. It's Leo Chenal, almost lined up as edge rushers in a 5-man front. And that's what you're going to go try to wall off Saquon. It's not cornerbacks. It's not that. They're going to play a tough front against the Eagles, and they're basically going to say, hey, Jalen Hurts, go ahead, pass against us. I dare you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it will definitely be a different game plan that we see. Now, this is one thing that defenses are just not good at a lot of the time against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, the Bills themselves weren't really great in this game in terms of keeping Mahomes inside the pocket, not letting him break contain. But this is the key when he does decide to take off. You're going to see man coverage here, I believe. No, zone coverage. Sorry.
Zone.
You're going to have cover 2 here from the Buffalo Bills. And what you're going to have is Noah Gray coming across, bringing Kaiir Elam with him. That turns this into a one-on-one with Mahomes and Matt Milano. And I know that Mahomes, he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Josh Allen. But on money downs like this, big-time downs, especially third and medium, I feel like you've got to have a spy on Patrick Mahomes, which is what Matt Milano is here. You're going to see Milano come downhill and maintain his angle. So many times we see these DBs lunge and miss. Mahomes makes the first guy miss pretty often, especially for, like I said, a quarterback that we don't really regard as a great runner, a elite running threat. But when he needs to, seems to always make the play. And this is what you're going to have to do to contain this. If Matt Milano misses this tackle, Mahomes is getting the first down. He's getting probably inside the red zone, but Milano turns it into a sack and gets the ball back to the Bills, who I think ended up taking the lead at the time after this.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, this is probably one of Mahomes' worst plays of the night, right? You go back and watch this. Trying to get back here. This is a clean pocket right here. I understand the down and distance, right? It's 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12 at this point. They're close to field goal range at this point. I think you just throw this ball to P. Ryan in the flat. If you watch this play out just a little bit, Mahomes looks off a little early and quick on this play, and P. Ryan opens up right there. You throw this ball, he has a chance. right? This corner is backpedaling you. It's a one-on-one with this safety right here. I don't know who that is. That's probably, if Mahomes stays there, that's probably the better read. Instead, he runs to the side where there's only two routes. They're both covered. Like, it's just not a great read by him. And obviously, Milano makes a heck of a play. Oh, geez, I just went all the way back. But Milano makes a heck of a play in space against Mahomes. I mean, that's the story of this game is that Matt Milano, right? We expected him to have a bigger game than this. Like, the Bills just let Mahomes have his way majority of the game. And I mean, if it isn't for a shoestring tackle here, I mean, you're right. Mahomes, we see break this a good amount. And there's 10 yards right there. And it would be another backbreaker for the Bills.
So now after that play, we get to the fourth quarter. And one thing with the Andy Reid offense, they're going to find their matchups. And again, as I mentioned earlier, with a Juju Smith-Schuster type, it's not always going to be what you expect. I mean, I'm sure that the Bills and Sean McDermott's game plan last week, especially from what we saw, was largely focused on taking away Travis Kelce. Don't let Travis Kelce beat you. And obviously, Xavier Worthy ended up being the main player in the Chiefs' game plan in the receiving game. But look at Juju Smith-Schuster here. The Chiefs win by alignment. They win by scheme. Juju's got an outside leverage DB here in man coverage. They get Worthy to the outside. Clear man indicator here to me. Kaiir Elam steps outside, bumps out to be with Worthy. So you got the passing strength here to the field. But over here in the boundary, you got Juju, who's going to immediately win his inside release. He's going to push him upfield, and he's going to immediately win over the middle. It's man-to-man coverage. This is one high safety who, by the way, is playing to the passing strength on the other side of the field. There is no one here to help Rasul Douglas as he gets beat. And again, this is what I'm talking about. Mahomes sees it. He knows what matchup he has. Juju forces another missed tackle, gets yards after the catch in the big 20-25, and makes a play for the Chiefs. Gets big-time yardage, and that is why the Chiefs are so hard to defend. You don't know where it's coming from. They can attack you from all angles, and it can be the unlikely hero, a Kadarius Toney, a Sky Moore in Super Bowl 57 even. Like, it can literally be anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about this play, like, that makes it interesting too, the Bills are a zone team. Rasul Douglas is a great zone corner. He's not necessarily as an elite of a defender in man coverage. Same with a lot of Bills defenders. They were asked to do something different in this game. And obviously, Rasul Douglas on an island one-on-one, even if it is a Juju Smith-Schuster who is not in his prime, that's still a tough matchup for that guy who's not good in man coverage. The Chiefs see that. They're like, yeah, like, we're throwing a Juju here. And I mean, you go back and look at this play. I mean, Mahomes was throwing to him the whole way when he knew it was man coverage. You look at this rep, right? Mahomes looks to the left, right? Everything's scattered here, right back to Juju, and he's just firing right away, right? He saw the matchup, and he knew it right away. And that's the crazy thing you mentioned with the Chiefs. It's always somebody who's stepping up in these moments, and it doesn't always have to be Travis Kelce like we've seen in the postseason. It can be, McCole Hardman randomly. It can be somebody who just kind of steps up.
100%. So we're going to have more cover two, more middle of the field issues for the Chiefs here. And it's going to be Mac Hollins once again. I want you to, as I get back to this, I want you to just watch Mac Hollins release. Watch how, they've only got one linebacker really kind of in the middle of the field here. You got Bolton all the way here on the outside on Knox, I believe that is. You got Samuel who bumps out, and that brings, I can't tell who that is, if it's Connor or not. There.
In the slot?
Side of Hollins, the guard in the middle.
I think it is Connor.
Yeah,
it's either
so
Connor and Aziz.
He doesn't really get a whole lot of width here. Watch Mac Hollins just have nobody near him this entire play. This is pitch and catch. This is a route on air for Josh Allen and the Bills. And this is, as I keep mentioning, this is the weakness that the Chiefs defense showed in this game and in parts of the Texans game. Allen sees it, just like Mahomes saw the play that we just showed, and fires it in, gets them inside the 5-yard line with it.
That boy Cook, man, he ain't elite by any means. And I mean, cover two look here, right? You should have two deep safeties at this point. Brady, do any of these routes on the left side of the field push vertically besides one route?
Nope. He can't get to the top shoulder.
As a safety, how do you let this happen? I mean, that's just a bad rep from Cook. Great read by Allen. Great play. I mean, Mac Hollins, there's something about number 13 in Buffalo that just continues to terrorize the Chiefs. If that's a strategy, Brady, anytime the Bills and Chiefs are playing in the postseason, bet the overs on 13.
Yeah, it might be a good call. So this is a play I saw on Twitter that Bills players were talking about. They never saw this in their scouting, and I don't blame them. This is pretty unique stuff, pretty special stuff from Andy Reid. So you've got this formation here with both tight ends on the hips of Mahomes. You got Kelsey to the left, Noah Gray to the right, Kareem Hunt behind him, and then you got wide out split, pretty wide splits on either side. What you're going to see here is Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor on the right side of the line. They're going to pull here. They're going to come around. You see both of them pulling, and the defense is already flowing to where Kareem Hunt is going. They are not expecting a read option quarterback keeper from Mahomes here. At this point, Mahomes is running to the right. How many times have we seen a rollout play with Mahomes on action like this where he dumps it off into the flat, where he dumps it to this outside guy down here on the bottom? A lot. So they're still probably at this point not expecting a Mahomes run. He steps up, and this is pretty much going to turn into 2-on-2. You're going to have Mahomes, who's got the speed advantage over this linebacker and is heading to the outside. You got Hamlin getting blocked here by Noah Gray, and then look at the block that Travis Kelce delivers as Patrick Mahomes gets into the end zone, gives the Chiefs the lead, and then throws a terrible spike.
The spike heard around the world. Yeah, I mean, this is just special play calling by Andy Reid. And I mean, I saw a clip of Travis Kelce talking about it today, and it was just like Andy Reid said, "Yep, we're gonna run this week," and everybody was like, "Oh, we've never done that before." And then here we go, two different polling groups here. You see both fullbacks, which is Gray and Kelce, are lead blocking. Kelce talked about how at this point he has to choose between Milano and the safety, and he has to understand Mahomes' speed and which relation he should take. And he goes to the safety. He trusts that Mahomes can beat Milano at this angle, and that's just great football knowledge. I know we always shit on Kelce for being a bad blocker, but this is a special play right here where he just makes a great decision.
He's just not Gronk, like in that regard. I'm being serious. Like that's not like a diss. It's not a slight.
Kelce is underrated as a blocker.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
And then there you go, the shitty spike where he just throws it up.
100%. So here we got more Caliendo getting beat here. This is, I think, 2nd down and 10 inside the red zone. Chiefs ended up having to settle for a field goal after this, which we obviously know did not end up hurting them. The defense got the stop they needed, which we'll get into in here in a minute. But I think this is Phillips on Caliendo. And Caliendo, just watch him get bullied backwards into Mahomes. Mahomes is trying to step up because he feels pressure coming from the edge here. Let's get back to it real quick. Let's let it just play out. Just gets pushed straight into him. Mahomes takes the sack after this is an incompletion, and they end up having to kick the field goal. And these are the kind of plays that, with a less margin of error against a way better defense in 2 weeks, you can't have this. And I'm not saying that I think Caliendo is going to be some Achilles heel and he's just going to get destroyed all night long. They're going to give him help if he starts getting beat early on. But these are just the things that the Chiefs need to tweak if they want to play really to their absolute ceiling in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably going to see a lot more of Creed Humphrey shading to whatever side Jalen Carter is rushing, whether that's to Trey Smith or Caliendo's side, so that should help. And you're going to have to trust Tooney and Taylor at tackles. And I mean, they've been solid this postseason. I mean, the Texans game, they weren't great, but they've been better. So I think you just have to find a way to negate Jalen Carter. And to be honest, we're going to see a quick passing game from the Chiefs. I think the Eagles play that soft zone coverage a lot of the time. I think we're going to get a quick passing game from the Chiefs in this one.
Yeah, we will see. It'll be interesting. These plays kind of got out of chronological order, I think, at some point. No, this is actually the last drive. And the quality is really crappy because NFL Pro is kind of bugging out. But you'll see the point of this play regardless. So talked about how cover 2 is getting beat all game long. You talked about Brian Cook not playing his responsibility well. So what do? They call cover 2, but they have 2 guys in the middle of the field that instantly widen out here. You've got Hicks coming in relation to Shakir, who's coming over the middle and is kind of going to go – it's sort of like a bang 8 here. They're trying to get a hitter. Allen could throw this, but realistically probably going to be short of the sticks. Could get hit by Hicks here. Let me play it for another second. Could throw it, but he could get hit. There's a chance if you just let him undercut it that he can get past Hicks, but Allen realizes that's not a high percentage here on a play that they needed. I think this was third down. You've got guys widening out. The seam is just not there for the taking. You do have the safety still widening to the outside, but Shakir at this point, he's locked up. Allen throws it, goes over his head. Big time stop, big time adjustment from Spags and the Chiefs on this third down.
Yep, finally got that big stop they needed. And then here's the play of the game.
100%. So Spags, he's known for knowing when to send the right blitz at the right time. And he sent the perfect blitz here. First off, I think we can talk about why did the Bills go empty here. I don't understand it. Against Spags, you know his MO is heating the quarterback up. Why is there not as much protection as possible if you're the Buffalo Bills, if you're Joe Brady? I think they got a little bit overzealous and overconfident in what they could do on fourth down with how they did on money downs throughout this game and in the Week 11 game. I mean, you've got quad out here to the left. You got four receivers. You got a single receiver. I believe that's Ty Johnson out here to the right. And you're going to have Shakir run this orbit, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw, but Ben Solak was just getting absolutely fried for saying that Allen should have easily thrown this orbit. Like, if he just turns his head, he can make this play, blah, blah, blah. And Ryan Fitzpatrick and even Ryan Leaf and some other guys were just dunking on him, saying it's easy to say from your cozy room and your chair and your warm lit room, whatever, which we're doing the same thing. But I'm not going to say that Allen had an easy read here on this orbit because we bring it back. The way that he sends this blitz is just perfect. You got Justin Reid here in the box. You got McDuffie here on the outside. He looks like he's going to be guarding Johnson, but they realize that with this running back on the outside, you can have the safety eyeball this running back, play anything quick because he knows that pressure is coming. This ball is coming out quick regardless with the look that they're sending. You're going to have Karlaftis in contain off the edge here, so Allen can't get to the outside. Check it out. Reid, he's coming through. McDuffie, he's coming through. They're both unblocked here. Karlaftis, like I said, he's got the edge, so Allen has nowhere to go. He has to roll out, and by the time something does come open, which is Dalton Kincaid, who is obviously who he tried to throw to on the desperation here, Allen's got two guys in his face. Reid and McDuffie both track it perfectly here, or I believe that's Karlaftis. McDuffie starts to bail out. Karlaftis and Reid are both there, and Josh, to even get this throw off was crazy. Kincaid can't quite readjust and make the catch, and it sends the Chiefs essentially to the Super Bowl on this play.
Yeah, and I mean, the Bills' original play call was supposed to go to Khalil Shakir on this orbit. They did it in the Week 11 matchup where they threw it to Shakir and converted on a fourth down.
They did it last week too, actually, on a fourth down.
Right? That was the play call. That's where it was supposed to go. But the pressure changes everything. Josh Allen talked about this post game on what happened on the splits. You see this front right now. McDuffie, right? It does not look like McDuffie's coming. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line right now. Allen has to choose where he wants to slide this protection. Allen chose to slide it to the left. Now, you might say, well, that's just unlucky of him to do that, right? But I mean, what are you going to do in this situation, right? You're trying to slide it left because the read is to the left side, right? You're just trying to be able to get the ball to Shakir and make a play. But unfortunately, right, the guys on the right side are just blitzing right through, and then you get another rusher with McDuffie coming off there. So it just did not work out by any means where Allen slid the protection and what wound up happening on this play. And I mean, you're right. Dalton Kincaid is almost wide open on this play. If Allen maybe has a third of a second longer, he makes this play, but he doesn't. And then I don't want to hear anybody blaming Dalton Kincaid. That was basically a Hail Mary. Let's see what can happen. That's not Dalton Kincaid's fault. He does not deserve that. And then here you go. Here's that motion play again.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about when they were out of chronological order. It feels wrong to play this after that big play, but
yeah,
this is just an example of the Chiefs DBs sharing grass, which is something that if you aren't familiar with that, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a huge, huge no-no for DBs. You have these two down here, the corner and Justin Reid, the safety, both playing the goal line, both within 2 yards of each other, and it completely frees up Curtis Samuel in the back of the end zone on a big time. I think this was 4th and goal.
Was 4th down, yep. The one time the Bills didn't get the 4th down was the most important time. Every other 4th down, they constantly kept getting in. That's kind of it's kind of the Bills' story is they constantly keep making conversions, and then in the last few minutes of these games, aren't able to come up on top. So let's talk about it, Brady. Where do the Bills go in this offseason to improve in 2025?
I think you got to really find some difference makers on the defense. The offense, majority of this season, 29 points is enough to win against Kansas City. And I know that the Chiefs are so good at just playing, making you play to their game and adjusting to what you want to do. I mean, who knows whether even if the defense was better, maybe they still would have found a way to score 30 and win by 1 point. We don't know. The Chiefs are really good at that sort of thing, but you need difference makers on the outside. Getting Benford healthy, obviously, it wasn't a major injury, but a concussion. Like not having him made a difference. He'll be back next year. I think you need another corner on the outside. Obviously, we saw Kaiir Elam is terrible. He should not be part of the future plan for Sewell Douglas, as you mentioned, more of a zone guy. I think you need to go find another guy, but I think most importantly, you need a dominant edge rusher. Greg Rousseau is good. He's not great. He's not a difference maker. He's not a Will Anderson, a Max Crosby, a Myles Garrett. You need to try and find somebody in the draft, maybe Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, Mike Green out of Marshall, somebody like that that can consistently win off the edge. You still got good linebackers. I like Terrell Bernard. I think Matt Milano's still got a little bit of good football left in him. And I think DeMar Hamlin's a free agent. You let that guy walk. I'm sorry. Everybody felt bad for him. It was really tragic what happened. That doesn't mean that we got to give him Make-A-Wish contracts and Make-A-Wish PT and Make-A-Wish PR hype. Like, this dude's not a good safety. I'm sorry, DeMar, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. You got a great story. But they need a new safety. They need a better middle of the field presence. They need a safety that can man up on some of these guys. It's going to be hard for anybody to man up on Worthy, but you need somebody that can compete harder than DeMar Hamlin did, in my opinion. He's not a great tackler. We saw him get run over by Mahomes. Like, I just think the defense is really what needs retooling. It would be nice for them if they could go and get a wide receiver one, a guy that they can target 8 times a game or more. But I think that's more of a luxury than a necessity for this offense. I think with Josh Allen, they'll always be able to compete with the pieces around them, especially with James Cook. We'll see if they bring back Cooper, but the defense is really where I look.
Yeah, defense is where I look to as well. I think offensively, if you keep that elite offensive line, you'll be okay. We've seen teams that have great offensive lines are able to make up for a lack of wide receiver talent, and that's the case in Buffalo. Now you have a question: do you pay James Cook a big contract? Because I think running backs earned a little bit of pennies this year from what we've seen, just based on the free agent success they've had. So I think running back contracts are going to be at probably an all-time high this offseason for running
Yeah,
backs.
James
But
Cook, he's only in year 3, I think. So 100% worth investing in him. He's still got plenty of tread on his tires, and he's super fast and catches passes.
yeah, 100%. But then you look defensively, where I look is the middle linebackers and the safeties. Only one player had over a 60 coverage grade according to PFF. That's got to be better. They got to change out the personnel there. Taylor Rapp on a 1-year deal. DeMar Hamlin's probably a free agent. I think both those guys are gone. Linebacker wise, I know you don't have a problem with them. Milano's not the same player he once was. Bernard is not a coverage guy, right? If you want to compete with the Chiefs, I know Kelsey, we don't know his future. You're going to have to be able to guard these tight ends, these bigger receivers over the middle of the field for the Chiefs. And it's just not going to cut it with coverage guys out there. And I mean, you look at the Ravens and the Bengals, who they play against, and I know they got past the Ravens this season, but I mean, you're going to have to match up with Mark Andrews. You're going to have to match up with whoever the Bengals are rolling out there. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do to cover up probably their 2 biggest holes on defense in those coverage spots. I do think another pass rusher wouldn't hurt. I think that potentially could be at nose tackle too. Ed Oliver probably got a bad contract this offseason when he got paid, and I don't think that contract was necessarily great for Buffalo by any means. And it's interesting. Von Miller's contract is expiring soon. He has a lot of money, though, tied up in him. Greg Rousseau, another name to watch. We'll see what happens with Buffalo, but I think the thing is they need to retool. They need to get some more talent cover guys, I think, in the middle of the field that can help this defense out. And who knows? I mean, Buffalo's going to be great next year. I expect them to be a top 3 seed in the AFC for sure. They have Josh Allen. The sky is not falling. Sean McDermott will be back for another year. Joe Brady will be back for another year. It is okay, Buffalo. They will be back. They will be in contention, but we'll see if they're going to be able to get over the hump. All in all, guys, it was a great film breakdown with all y'all. If you guys haven't, make sure you go sign up for Dabble Fantasy with code BlitzSM for a free $10 when you sign up. It helps us out, and you'll see a lot more features on Blitz coming out here soon. So make sure you guys tune into that. For all that live exclusive coverage we keep on hyping up during the Super Bowl, we'll be getting to you guys that as well shortly. So hit that subscribe button and go check out that content. Me and Brady will catch you guys next time.
100%. Let's go.